Hi everybody, it's Amy, also known as Aussie Stitcher in Texas, here on Flosstube and over on Instagram. I'm here with you today on November 1st with my latest Flosstube update. This is Flosstube number 30, and this is everything I stitched on in the month of October. I didn't get as much stitching time this month because it was my birthday and I did travel to Hawaii for 10 days with my friends to celebrate, which was an amazing trip, and I'll tell you a little bit about it at the end if anybody wants to hear. So in total, I did less than 10,000 stitches this month, which I know for some people is a lot. For me, it's kind of on the lower end, but still proud of what I was able to accomplish in this month. So let's get right into it. I had 2 new starts this month. One was a birthday start for my birthday, and then the other one was part of my WhipGo calls to work on a fancy lady, and I didn't have any in my rotation, so I started up a new one. So let's get started with my birthday start. So that is this one. It's called Cabin in the Woods by Flossabilities. I just love the color play on this with like the teals and the aquas, and just absolutely amazing. It kind of took my breath away when I saw it on her Etsy. Now I'm doing this on 32 count charcoal by Witchelled, which I picked up just from 123 Stitch, and I got 1,857 stitches done, and this is where I'm at. So let me fold it up a little bit. So I did a center start just to make sure everything was all gonna line up right. The cabin is completely done, and then I started working up so I can then kind of work up and down. I prefer to work down on my projects, but yeah, the cabin is all complete. I've started on the tree, so that's that color play of the aqua, and I just love how it looks on the charcoaly fabric. And these stars, good Lord, they look amazing, do not get me wrong, but it's counting. It's a lot of counting. So this isn't something that I can work on when I'm tired. And also the darker fabric, I've got to make sure I have a light pad, which I don't turn on, but because it's white, I just put that on my lap or kind of in front of me so that the white color helps, make the holes more visible. But that is Cabin in the Woods. Just a little one. This is a fat 1/8, I think, so it will fit nicely on that. I've decided I like working on fabrics of like the size I need versus, taking a whole fat quarter and only using what I need kind of thing, but then at the same time, I don't like cutting my fabrics down. So if there's an opportunity to buy it at the smaller size, I will do it just to make my life easier. So next up is one of the WhipGo calls from last month, which was number 17. And that was to work on a fancy lady for 1,000 stitches. I didn't have a fancy lady in my rotation in kind of the way I was defining fancy lady at the time I created the WhipGo board. So to me, fancy lady is like a Mirabilia or a Bella Filipina. But I kind of fell off the Mirabilia Bella Filipina train. I just think because I got burned out on the last one I did. I don't enjoy beading, and it just kind of then was making me not want to start a new one, even though I have a couple in my stash. But then when I was watching, so my plan when I was like, okay, I won't take it off my WhipGo board, I'll use it for like my alternative reality because she's in a big beautiful dress, or for Autumn, which is also, she's full coverage, but she's in a big beautiful dress. But then I was watching Sarah Stitching Mommy's Whip Parade, and she was showing a bunch of fancy ladies, and it made me like the fancy ladies again. So this is the one I started. It's been in my stash for a while. This is Persephone by Mirabilia. I am using all the called for flosses, but the fabric I'm using is a 32 count Briar Rose from Fabrics by Stephanie, which I did purchase kind of with the intention of doing this piece. And this is where I got to. So I did just over 1,000 stitches, 1,027. This is when I was back from Hawaii and I was just trying to make sure I got all my goals done. And so I did the 1,000 and then stopped, moved on to the next one. I've got a hanging thread here just because this one stitch is kind of hanging out on its own. I don't have anything to anchor it with yet. And also I like leaving the hanging thread there because if I find I did it in the wrong spot, it's easy to unpick. But this is kind of her torso. Again, I did a center start, and I thought I was rather genius because sometimes I find, and I've seen on Flosstube where there's a lot of people like, I don't know what way it goes if you've only done a little bit. So I decided to have this at the top. So then that way I knew it was always going to be this way up because of the kind of the edge of this fabric versus just, you know, if that was all, which wouldn't work if it was kind of just serged like this all the way around, but because I've got that at the top, I'm able to easily tell which way is up. And this was very, very enjoyable. It was a lot of block in that spot, so kind of made a nice reintroduction to doing the fancy ladies. I did also rechart this pattern into some software so that I can have it in Pattern Keeper, which I think was also one of the reasons why I was not wanting to restart, well, not restart, but start a fancy lady, was because using those paper patterns, I find now for myself, me using paper patterns, I make so many more mistakes than I do digitally, which I don't know why. I don't know if it's because I can zoom in so much more to be able to see easier what's around or what should be around what I'm about to be stitching. So I took the time, I charted that into some charting software, and now it's in Pattern Keeper, and I can see it being a lot easier to work with. Now let's get into just the rest of the whips I worked on. So I worked on 4 more whips for October, and we will start with whatever's on top of my pile, which is Hallow by Autumn Lane Stitchery. This was in their Halloween box last year, I believe. I am doing this with all the called for colors, but I'm using CXC floss. And then this is a 32 count Rubios by Under the Sea Fabrics. If I haven't already, that's what it looked like when the last time that you saw it. And here is what it looks like now. So I got 1,335 stitches. I've come all the way to the end. So this is the full width of the piece. And I know I've said this before, if you're a long-time viewer of my channel, well, not long time, but since I started this CXC coverage is absolutely amazing, especially that black. I mean, look at that. There is nothing to be seen through that. And this is 2/2. Absolutely amazing. So CXC for the win. It is a little fluffier and sometimes can get a little annoying to try and thread the needle. Sometimes I've got to use a little needle threader, which is not the end of the world. But for the rest of it, it is highly recommend. Highly recommend. Okay, next up is a big one and my kind of monthly piece. This was also one of my Whip Go calls for October to work on for 1,000 stitches. And then I also work on it for 2,000 stitches a month, whether or not it's called for Whip Go. And that is Alternative Reality by Josephine Wall. I have also now completed 4 or 5 pages, maybe 6, because I'm going kind of typewriter method. And yeah, I'm almost at the end of the next row. But here's what it looked like the last time that you saw it. And now you can see what 3,000 stitches, which was almost the end of me, what kind of progress that is. Okay. So, amazing. Don't get me wrong. Love it. This was almost my end. So much, like the confetti, as you can tell by like the amount of like parked threads I have in this section versus like, I mean, over here's a lot of confetti too, but versus like over here, was almost the end of me. Let me get in close. Yeah, the kind of shoulder of her dress. And then the people. And then there's more block towards the end here, but I had to do 3,000 stitches. It took me 10 days, which was, you know, considering I only had really 20 days to be able to really work on cross stitch, was a huge chunk. And my plan originally was to maybe use this for the fancy lady. But then I was like, I can't do 4,000 stitches on this when I'm in such a confetti heavy section. So I was supposed to do 3,000. I did just shy of that, only because I'm doing the Royal Rose method. I didn't want to start another block of 200 just to get the 30 stitches I needed because while I'm doing Royal Rose, I do go a little rogue if it means being able to like finish off my thread versus have a hanging thread for 2 stitches just because it's in the box below kind of thing. So sometimes I get a little bit more than the 2,000 and sometimes I get a little less. But my annual goal for this is 25,000 stitches so that I can see the finish in 5 years. I have already done 25,000 this year. I've done like 26,000 and something, but I will still continue to work on this for 2,000 stitches a month, even though I've hit my yearly goal, only because in my experience of this last month, having that like really wanting to give up, I want to be able to have a little bit of flexibility that if I do have a month where I'm like just in a confetti section, that I'm like, you know what, I need a break because I don't want to burn out on it. Because I do want this to be finished at some point in my lifetime. I don't want to burn out. So having that kind of buffer, it just makes me feel a little bit more comfortable and will probably mean I'm less likely to burn out. But that is what I'm doing with that. Okay. Next up was a piece I worked on partly because it's, you know, kind of timely for the pumpkins, which is from Hallow by Liz Mathews, Quaker Pumpkins. But then because this is really, you know, only a couple of colors, I knew I could get some decent numbers in, and I got 1,371 stitches. Here is what it looked like the last time that you saw it. I am doing this on a 40 count verdal in the color something. Please hold. Grogg by BeStitchMe. And here is what I got. So I got that second pumpkin done. So far, everything is lining up, which I'm very, very happy about. And I'm doing this in just the DMC conversion. I'm not doing the Fancy Floss. Fancy Floss and I aren't the best of friends. I've got a little bit of a stash because from like various boxes and stuff, and then when I did my Halloween Quaker. So I am going to try and make more of a conscious effort to use it, but my goal in life is to not really buy the Fancy Floss unless it's like a real variegated, because that subtle variation to me, this is all my opinion, isn't worth the like $2.50 price tag or more if it's a silk, when it's, you know, versus the 50 cents I can get a DMC for. But that's just my opinion. They're all still very beautiful. Okay, so that is Quaker Pumpkin. That, like I said, I knew I could get some numbers in on that one, so that's why I picked that. And then my last piece that I worked on for the month, so this was the piece I actually took with me to Hawaii, thinking I wouldn't get a lot of time on to do it, and I definitely didn't, but I wanted to have something small to work with if the time did allow it, because we did have 6+ hours that we were waiting at the airport in Hawaii to fly home. So, and that is the Reindeer by Cottage Garden Samplings. Here's what it looked like the last time you saw it. I am doing this on a 32 count even weave in the color Hamlet by Under the Sea Fabrics, which I got in like a little fabric grab bag at one of the retreats. And here's what I got to. So it was really that 6 hours at the airport and then a little bit at home on that day I got home, just to get some more progress in on it. And I'm loving how the colors are playing on this fabric. And it's just a little fat eighth that I've got. So that's everything I worked on in October. If that's all you want to know about my stitching, that is all the stitching I have done. Thank you so much for watching. If you could give me a thumbs up. Thank you to all my subscribers and returning viewers. I really do appreciate you continuing to watch and like my videos. But if you want to stick around for a little bit more, I have plans, which aren't a huge amount of plans, a little bit of haul, and then I'll tell you about my trip if you're interested. So my plans are the 2 Whipco calls for November is number 14, number 16, which for me is Madame Chantilly, Work on Something for 1,000 Stitches, and Autumn by Alexandra V. Bark, one of my full coverages, also for 1,000 stitches. So those are easy. I've got that from Madame Chantilly. I am still tossing up between if I work on summer, which I have on the go, or if I start autumn, just because in Texas we are finally getting a little bit of autumn weather. It's kind of gray and dreary today, but which is, you know, it's been so hot still. So I'll do that. I'll do my alternative reality for 2000 stitches. And then I don't know. I've got no firm plans on anything else. I might do a little bit more of my Mirabilia. I might start something new. We'll just have to see what I do. But those are my plans. Nothing firm really, except for the 2 Whip Go and the alternative reality to work on. Now, my trip, for anybody who wants to listen. So we celebrated my 40th birthday. We were in Hawaii on my actual birthday, which was lovely. And we did a cruise through the islands. So we did a couple of days in Oahu, where we went out to the North Shore, we went to Pearl Harbor, and just did a beach day. I can't tell you the last time I did just a beach day. I'm not, oddly for an Australian, I'm not really a beach person, but that's only because I'm very much that person where I'm like, I enjoy being at the beach, but when I'm done, I'm done. Like, I need to be showered, I need to be changed, I need the sand off me, I need the salt water off me, like I'm done. So, you know, as a kid, going to the beach was always, you know, an effort. And my mother wasn't really a beach person either, so we didn't go a lot anyway, but it was always an effort. We were either catching public transport out there, which obviously takes more time than driving, or even if you were driving, it was the struggle to find parking, and then you were parked a mile from the beach and you'd have to walk down, and I don't have great memories of going to the beach. I also have a large shark fear, which also doesn't help the situation. But for Hawaii, for Oahu, because we were at the Royal Hawaiian, if anybody wants to know about that, absolutely amazing. I loved it. The Big Pink Palace, it's called. Staff were great. The room was great. Amazing view. We had ocean view rooms, so looking right over the ocean. It was absolutely amazing. And you're on the beach. So I was able to have that, like, okay, when I'm on the beach, I'm on the beach, but then when I'm done, I can be done. So we did a beach day, which was great. We'd rented some of the lounges so we could, you know, have our spot on the beach that was just ours. It was just a walk down to the beach, down to the water, which was like the perfect temperature. That little bit kind of, ooh, when you get in, but then once you're in, absolutely amazing. Not too wavy, so we weren't kind of rolling in the surf. And what was funny is there was a little bit of like an incline to get out. And the both times I was in and getting out, I was able to use the waves to help push me up. I don't know how I did that, but I felt very proud of myself being able to kind of be pushed out of the water and not struggle too much. So Oahu was amazing. And then we got on the ship, which is Norwegian Pride of America. We went all out. I mean, there was 4 of us and we shared one cabin, but it was a penthouse. So it was absolutely huge. We had the biggest balcony I've ever seen on a cruise ship. So it was amazing. We had a butler and everything. It was great. Highly recommend that if you have the means to do so. It was fantastic. Then we had 2 days in Maui, 1 day in Hilo, and then on the other side of the island in Kona. So that's the big island, I think. And then 2 days in Kauai, just at one stop in Kauai. So it was a great break. You kind of, if you're not a big cruiser, it's a good one to do because you're sailing at nighttime. Well, you're leaving we left at about like 6:30. But the majority of your sailing is sailing at night. So then you wake up and you're in a new destination. So it's a great kind of, I think, toe dipper to see if you kind of like cruising. There was one night that was kind of a little rough that made me a little queasy, but you know, I just took some meds and then sat out on the balcony as well and just watched the horizon, and that really helped me. All of my friends were fine. They didn't have any issues, but they're obviously a sturdier stock than I am. They've cruised more than me. So it was a great way to get to see the islands. Maui was amazing. We went snorkeling. I went ziplining in Kauai. None of my friends wanted to zipline, so I just did that, you know, with strangers, which was okay. I'd never been ziplining before. It was absolutely amazing. We did the road to Hana in Maui. If you are someone who gets motion sick, you would definitely need to take something for that. It's a lot of windy roads. I made the mistake, if you want to call it that. I thought I had non-drowsy motion sickness tablets. Not only were they not non-drowsy, I didn't read the packet that said you were only supposed to take 1, and I took 2. So I was kind of a little zombie-like. I was destroyed. Oh no, that was the day we went snorkeling that I took the 2. I only took 1 on the road to Hana and I was fine. But yeah, read the package of your medication because I was struggling to stay awake that whole day. And my father had called to like wish me a happy birthday. And he was like, "Are you okay?" And I'm like, "Look, it's this motion sickness meds. I'm about to pass out." So always read the packets of your medication. But yeah, Maui was great. Snorkeling on one day, rode to Hana the next. Hilo, we went up to Volcanoes National Park and saw that. There was no volcano activity, unfortunately, but still very kind of beautiful landscape, and you know, just the way you see the difference between volcano time and kind of rainforest time, because on the other side of the island in Kona was more rainforesty. We went up into this rainforest that's called the cloud forest, because as the clouds come down it gets all kind of foggy and ethereal almost. That was great. That was an unexpected exertion that I did not think we had to do, but it was slow paced, but it was just because you're in the rainforest. It was a little slippery, a little bit of climbing. But that was great. Then in Kauai, we took a day kind of to ourselves, and we rented these FUVs, which is kind of like, it's not an off-road vehicle. It's kind of like a golf cart, but it's kind of single. So you sit one behind the other, and they're electric, and they've got like handlebars like you're on a bike, which I did not drive. I am a passenger. I am not a driver. So one of my friends was the one driving, and she like kind of, it just took a little while, because I think if you're not someone who's ridden if you don't bicycle a lot or you don't ride a motorbike, just having that motion was a little different. I think for her, it took a little bit to get used to, but was a lot of fun. Was a little weird to be in a vehicle like that on the highway doing 55. That was kind of a little wind swept my hair when we got off. I couldn't keep my hat on. I had to take my hat off just because it's all open on the sides. So the wind was just whipping through, but it was a fun day to be able to do that and kind of explore on our own. And then I went ziplining on the other day, which was great. It was so much fun. I thought it would be I would be a lot more scared just because of the height, but it was okay, because all but one of the kind of takeoffs, we did 5, I think. You kind of like walked down. It wasn't like you were already, 60 feet in the air. It was like a gradual decline. So you could just kind of walk out and then have the zip line take you. And then one of them, you were up high, and that did take me a minute to just kind of like take a breath and then step out. And that was fun, because you went out, you came back a little bit, and then you went out again to then get to like the point where they then had to put a massive ladder up to come and get you. That's how it's intended. It's not like I was stuck out somewhere, but just how it is and the landscape and stuff. And it was a duel. So there was me and another lady. And so she got kind of picked up first. So then you're just hanging there awkwardly, just waiting your turn for someone to come and get you and like pull you down. And then you've got to get your feet. And what was so odd and unexpected, I'd never been ziplining before, is just kind of the effort it took. If the step wasn't kind of right where it was, your legs were just hanging and you kind of stepped there. If you had to step up, kind of just getting your body weight up was a lot harder than I kind of thought it would be, because you're kind of stepping up so much and you've been used to just kind of hanging there. So just a little bit of information if you want to go ziplining. But it was an absolutely amazing experience. It was so hot and humid up there that it was such a relief to be able to take all that gear off, which is there for safety reasons, obviously. And I never felt unsafe. They were a fantastic operation. But you don't realize how much it kind of, even just taking the helmet off at one point was like this massive relief. You don't realize how hot it makes you, even when it's just harnesses and stuff. It's not like I was wearing a jacket kind of thing. It was just a harness, but it felt like 10 degrees cooler the second you got all that stuff off, which was great. And then we sailed back and we flew home, which was, picked up some pineapples at the airport, as you do when you're in Hawaii, and had to come back to the real world, unfortunately, and go back to work the next day. So we all do what we must, though, huh? But that is kind of everything. I hope you enjoyed my video today. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you to all of my subscribers who keep tuning in. I really do appreciate you. And if you're new, please consider hitting the subscribe button. And if you liked the content, hit the thumbs up. But thanks everybody. Enjoy your November. If you are in any part of the world where it's still been hot, I hope it starts to cool down for you. I'm looking forward to some cooler weather here. And stay safe, everyone. Have a good one. Thanks. Bye.